Right, time to talk One Day Cup with Kyle Abbott, Hampshire's. Can I say veteran? Am I allowed to say veteran fast bowler? Well, I just have. Um, Abbo, congratulations. Liam Dawson, I guess, grabbed the headlines, didn't he? What an innings. 142 off 116, career best, 300 on the board, and a very, very compelling defence. It's been a good campaign, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, sorry, hi everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on here. Really excited to be here. And yeah, it's been a great campaign. My wife laughs at me because for the last 2 years I tell people that I don't play 50 over cricket anymore. Um, uh, because we're trying to let some youngsters play. So last year I ended up playing 8 of the 9 games, and I think I've only missed 2 or 3 this season. So she thinks it's quite funny. So I will say that I do play 50 over cricket now, and yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've had an incredible group of youngsters coming through for bowlers from Eddie Jack, Manny Lumsden, who's pretty quick for 16 years old, and young Ben Mays, who's really come in and batted like he's been around a long time, which is quite impressive to see. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best formats of cricket, mixing first class skills and T20 skills, and it's a great value package for people coming to watch a whole day's cricket, 600 odd runs, and sometimes nearly 20 wickets. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, we had a really good game up in Scarborough on Sunday.
Yeah, kind of that tournament, the 50 over tournament, it gets people look down their nose at it, and I keep saying to people, the good England players come from these tournaments. They do.
Mm,
You just mentioned 4 names, 5 names there. They're going to be on
mm,
England's Lions tours in 3 to 5 years. This tournament is so important to English
mm,
cricket, and I think they've got to find a framework to sort of get it in. But it's also, I mean, I live quite close. Well, I've been to Scarborough 2 or 3 times this year,
mm,
watching sort of youth cricket in places like Scarborough and Blackpool and Liverpool and
mm,
Sedbergh, where Lancashire play. These places are so valuable to play at as well because it makes it more sort of intimate. And it's like playing in
mm,
New Zealand, isn't it? So,
mm,
how have you enjoyed the tournament? You mentioned about playing with the young players, but you've
mm,
also been away from the bigger grounds, which it
mm.
gives it more of an atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, Scarborough's a hostile place as an away team.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, I didn't really want to get into trouble by saying it's not a very nice place to play if you're
Uh,
an away supporter. It is an absolute shocker of a place to play if you're not from
yeah,
Yorkshire.
if you're not from Yorkshire, it's not great. But as a wicket, I think it's one of the best wickets in the
It is.
country. Homie, I'm sure you would have bowled there in your
Mm.
time. And when I first arrived playing county cricket, the guys spoke of playing Yorkshire at Scarborough and Plunkett running down the hill and bowling 100 mile an hour. And I always wanted to go there. And I was fortunate enough to play a 4 day game there in 2022. And I walked away going, wow.
Mm.
If it wasn't so far away and in tucked up in the corner of England, I'd really like to play there quite often. And then played a white ball game, and the crowd had a few ales in them over the day, and I thought, maybe I don't want to come back here. And yeah, you know what? But it's places, it's grounds like that. They normally fast scoring too, because
Mhm.
they're quite small. And you're right, they are intimate, and with a hostile crowd there, it in the looser sense of the term kind of prepares you for what international cricket is about, where bowling can be really tough. Your skills, um, having to nail them under pressure in small areas with the crowd on your back. I mean, it's very Scarborough, with all due respect, is very far away from international cricket, but in a game like a semi-final like that, and you've got the crowd on your back and the wind's howling down to a short boundary, it really feels like everything's on top of you, and it does expose the guys to some high pressure situations, which most outgrounds do, and adapting to conditions. You're not going to pitch up at Old Trafford or Headingley and know what you're going to get. And again, that's just adding skills. It's adding experience to these guys as they're coming through the system, which is hugely important.
Yeah, I mean, man, as you love my first experience of Scarborough. I was a 16-year-old playing against Yorkshire's like gun side. And it was back in the day, it was a 50 over game back in the day. And what you did, you bowled 25 overs, you had lunch, you had 25, 10-minute break, 25 tea, 25. And at lunchtime, I'd bowled 8 overs at lunchtime. And you walked into the marquee on the right hand side for lunch, and there was pints of beer all down the middle of the table. It was like, this was 1996, so it was a long time ago. And it's like, this is what Scarborough was. They were sponsored by Tetley's Better. And it was a brilliant, brilliant place. And then 2-3 years later, I went there, and the ends were shaven. The middle of the pitch was just like the outfield green grass. And they had Silverwood, Hoggard, Gough, and Craig White. And it was scary. It was really scary. I mean, one of our lads got hit in the throat by Goughy, and I mean, I don't know how he's still going, but I mean, it's a great place to go. And you talked about the atmosphere, and I'm 100% with you on that. That out grounds full is a different type of pressure. In the 1 or 2 young players that you mentioned there, I'm going to sort of highlight 2. I know Andrew Flintoff thinks a lot of Eddie Jack, and I think what we've seen of Sonny Baker over the course of the last 4 weeks in the 100, they're exciting, really, really exciting, especially with, I know the Ashes is coming up, but they'll be in the picture because they'll be in Australia with the Lions.
Yeah, absolutely. To as you said, really exciting prospects, and 2 kind of in. I mean, Sonny's got that raw pace. He's come a long way since he joined us in September last year. Graham Welsh has worked incredibly hard with him and got him ticking really nicely and simmering along at a real good gallop there. And then Eddie's in an interesting spot we found coming out of under-19 cricket, where he was obviously he's a big chap, and was able to get away with bowling quick and really intimidating those youngsters. And in the last 12 to 18 months, he's had to really adapt and sharpen up his skills and realize now that pace is not going to get him his wickets like it has been. And he's a sponge. He's great to stand alongside when he's bowling. He listens, he asks questions, and he's only going to go from strength to strength. And we've got to remember he's 19, and personally, I can remember kind of when it started to all click bowling, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, around 30, did it all kind of come together? And I realized, oh, right, this is actually what it's all about. And I hope he gets there quickly, because he's an exciting prospect.
But I think it was 2 or 3 years ago you started chuckling about the fact that you were one of the senior players, and you'd make jokes about 1 more year and we'll see how the body goes. I mean, the figures, and in fact, just to the eye, would suggest that you've still got it and everything's still working very well at 38. Are you just taking it year by year, or have you got a sort of an exit strategy into coaching lined up, or how's it going?
Yeah, I'm taking it year by year, to be quite honest. I had a real tough spot probably around end of 2022. I had a little bit of knee surgery. That was like the real first hiccup in my whole career, injury wise. I've been incredibly lucky, and it was only to clear out some cartilage. It wasn't even anything major. And after that, I thought I need to get fit. I need to get young Abbott fit, because it was a bit of a flash of, jeepers, this actually could be over. And that scared me quite a bit. I just wasn't ready for anything to stop me playing cricket. And so came up with a bit of a strategy with our fitness trainers. We looked at some data of what bowlers cover during a 4-day game. Obviously, I'm majority 4-day cricket based, and it's anything between 35 to 50 kilometers that we cover in a 4-day game. So it's quite a bit. So my winter training, after winter of 23-24, I got on the road. I started running 35 to 50 Ks a week at really low intensity, I'm talking 6.5 minute Ks, 7 minute Ks, low heart rates, 130, 125 heart rates. Really in a zone where I'm not going to get injured, because a lot of the time we actually are just standing and walking, gathering those kilometers. It's not all flat out running. That's a very small percentage. That's around about sometimes maybe 4 to 8 kilometers tops. That's actually at high end speed. So I started doing that, shed a lot of weight, and I got fit for purpose. I got fit to stand on my feet and come back later in spells. And honestly, I feel right now, I feel as like I'm bowling as well as I have at any point in my career, which is a little bit scary. So to answer your question, I'll be looking hopefully to extend next year. That'll take me to 39. I am in the process of doing coaching modules. I've taken quite a keen interest into the match refereeing side of things. Gunner's helped me along quite a bit there. I've chatted with Andy Smith at the ECB, done a bit of shadowing with the match referees. So yeah, there is a little bit of interest looking forward. But I still feel like I'm still very much in the present and trying to perform and win trophies for Hampshire.
And Kyle, what about Liam Dawson? We've seen him in the summer play for England. Whether he'd be touch and go, whether he goes to Australia. He had a wonderful semi-final when he got 142 off 116. Where's he at? Because it was a tough fourth test match at Old Trafford. It seemed as though he went back to Liam Dawson bowling a little bit flatter than he did what Ben Stokes wanted him to sort of do. You know him more than anybody else. He's a great character, great kid, wonderful player. How did he come back from that test experience?
Yeah. Firstly, as you said, he's incredible. He always seems to amaze us. Where, I mean, a really tough wicket in Scarborough to start on, losing the toss, and I think he went to 50. I remember they announcing it off about 70 balls, and at the drinks break, he was like, not sure what to do. It's tough. It's this, and then ended up playing like he was playing on a piece of AstroTurf. And then came on to bowl, and with a tough wind and a really short boundary, just varied his pace and his line and that so well, and got towards the end, and he's like, I think I need a bowl. He's like, if you guys come on and bowl slow balls, I think it's still going to be too quick. He goes, I'm just going to bowl slower and slower and slower and get them to hit me into the wind. And he just shut that game down for us. Where on a day that was incredibly tough with spinners. But yeah, he had a tough, as you said, he had a tough test match. But Dawson's just one of those guys that he gets on with it. He motivates himself in some weird ways. He fights with himself a lot to motivate himself. It's quite an interesting thing to observe from the change room, picking fights with himself, but that's how he gets himself up for things. And after a day like that, he's come back and he's had a good 100 again. He just kind of cracks on. But yeah, I've read quite a bit about sort of the way he went about that fourth day, and whether or not it was a bit of nerves or he didn't want to go for runs, or I'm not entirely sure. But he is so good at varying his pace and being able to get it above the eye line and to spin it. He's a far better bowler than what we saw in that fourth test, the fourth test. Considering it had been quite a while, Stan Cricket, 7 years since his last test, was it around there? So perhaps maybe just a bit of nerves and just wanted to do a good job without actually expressing himself would probably be the only reason why I think he went that way.
Finally, Abbo, I think I've got almost 20 years on you, and there will come a point where 6.5 minute Ks represents a good run. You'll be quite happy with that. I remember speaking to Courtney Walsh when he was 39, and I said to him, "When are you going to have a rest?" He said, "I can't rest now. I've only got one more rest in me, and then I'll never start again." So there you go. From Courtney Walsh, You got to keep going, man.
Yeah, I think 100%. And you know what? I've spoken to so many people that have retired, and they all said, "Oh, once it's done, it's done, and once it's done, it's done." And that never really hit home. And at the beginning of the season, I was chatting with Shane Berger, who's obviously with Somerset as assistant coach, and I've known Shane for years in South Africa. And he said something to me, which is exactly the same as once it's done, but it just hit differently. And he said, "You can never come back." And I suppose that's exactly what Courtney was saying. So that's hit me a lot harder than oh, once it's done, it's done. The thought of trying to come back and knowing how tough preseasons are my worst. Honestly, if you had to ask me around the middle of Jan, beginning of Feb when I start bowling, I'd say I'm done. I'm done by the end of this month. There's no chance. I tell myself every year there's no chance I'm going to get back to bowling like I do. But the more you bowl, you get into it, and once you're going, you kind of get back to it. It's an amazing thing, and I wish people didn't try to find shortcuts to bowling fitness and thinking that the gym is the answer and everything else is the answer, and that they get back to absolute basics of just bowling your overs and bowling and bowling and bowling. Because that's what keeps people fit. Yeah,
You have.
It's music. That's music to Homie's ears.
I have a rant about once a month on bowlers that have been injured or not bowling enough, and you look at them and go, "You've got no idea what it takes to be a fast bowler. The penny will drop and you'll be out of the game." There's only one thing that you can do to get fit for bowling, and that's bowling. I mean, I hated pre-season and I hated warm-ups even more. But I tell you what, put a ball in my hand. I mean, I couldn't think of anything worse than going in the gym. I would go in the gym and lie on the mats for an hour and a half because I just had no interest in being there. But I'd go outside and bowl for an hour and a half because that was my job. I got paid for.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing right now. This whole 50 over campaign, I have not been in the gym once. The whole of August.
No, I went in the gym. Maybe it's November, December, January time. I built myself up in 2 months, 3 months, and then once I started bowling, I didn't go back in the gym. Didn't see the point.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do to bowl is by bowling.
Yeah.
That's it. It's as simple as that. And people think it's rocket science, but when England used 8 fast bowlers in the summer, Durham used 13 fast bowlers before, up until that the break in the first part of the season. And it's sometimes, and I actually think sometimes, I don't know about you, Kyle, but I sometimes think that the tail's wagging the dog a little bit. There's people setting bowling programs who have never bowled before. I'm talking about fitness coaches. I'm talking about, people behind the scenes. Even now, the bowling coaches who all they could do was bowl. But now they think they've sort of cracked it. They've reinvented the wheel. And they think they're smarter than everybody else. I mean, Matthew Hoggard used to shout at umpires when he used to come in, "The ball's red, the ball's round, the ball's got a seam on it. You pick it 22 yards away. There's a stump at the other end, and we'll bowl with it." The game is as simple as that. If you can, somebody bowls it, somebody hits it, somebody fetches it. If you can keep keep it as simple as that, you'll do all right in cricket.
I could not agree with you anymore, and I think I'd get myself into a lot of trouble if I had to say exactly what I think. So
it's all right.
I'd rather
I do every week.
Yeah. But you know what? You're 100% sure, because 100% right, because we've pitched up at 4-day games where it's been raining the day before, so we haven't been able to look at the pitch. And the guys will come to me and they go, "Oh, what do you think we're going to get tomorrow?" And that I was like, "What does it matter?" They're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I was like, "There's 3 things we can control, right? We can control our attitude, we can control our bat path, that it comes down straight, and we can control where we bowl the ball. Other than that, we can't control the weather, the umpire, the pitch, anything else. So why are we even worried of what's under the covers?"
Ball's round, stumps don't move, matters. Simple.
But we got to go, and you need to either drop off your kid or pick him up from the playgroup. We could go on all day, but very best of luck in the final, September the 20th at Trent Bridge. Very, very best of luck. We'll be watching keenly.
Thank
you very much. Thanks, Homie. Thanks, Manners. Thanks.
No worries,
really
man.
good to see you.